Hey, what's up, besties? How y'all doing today? Well, baby, if your name is Bia, I know you regret the day you ever told the internet you were standing on that 2024 diss track, because Cardi B did not just respond. She pulled up to an X Spaces and turned one little comment into a full-blown demolition. Now listen, I know what you're about to say. Sis, is this really that deep? It's just rap beef. No, baby, this is not just rap beef. This is cheating allegations, fake Instagram pages, a 7-year marriage getting dragged into the group chat, and Cardi B basically standing on a rooftop screaming that she has a whole unreleased diss record sitting in the vault with Bia's government name written all over it. And when I tell you the part about the vault had me sitting straight up in my bed, because there's a big difference between somebody saying, I could respond, and somebody saying the song is already done. One of those is a reaction. The other one is a premeditated nuclear strike. And y'all already know which one she was describing. So let's get into this, because the timing of how this whole thing reignited is what really tells you everything. Now, before y'all start arguing with me in the comments, before y'all start typing, you're reaching, hold off. Let me lay out the actual sequence of events, and then you tell me who's the villain in this story. Deal? Deal. So here's how we got here. Doja Cat was on stream, minding her business, living her life, and at some point a Bia song comes on. Now, Doja's chat immediately started acting like the neighborhood watch. They were like, hey, cut that off. She dissed you in the past. We don't rock with her. And Doja, to her credit, did not care one bit. Doja kept it moving. And that moment right there is what pulled her out of the house, because she came online to apologize to Doja Cat for all the weird things she had said about her in the past. And on the surface, that's a nice moment, right? Growth, maturity, flowers all around. But baby, the internet does not let anybody grow in peace. Because while Bia was out here handing out apologies, somebody jumped in her mentions and said, basically, hold on. How are you over here apologizing to Doja like you're a good person, when just in 2024 you made a whole diss track about Cardi, and she didn't even do anything to you? And that, right there, was the fork in the road. Because she could have kept scrolling. She could have posted another sunset picture. She could have logged off and drank some water. But nope. She responded that everything she said on that track was true, and doubled down by saying she still stands on what she said about that other-ish. And girl, you already know she was going to see that. You could have set your watch to it. Now let me pause right here, because this is the part where I need y'all to be honest with yourselves. If you are Cardi B, and you have spent years listening to this particular narrative trail behind you, and the person who put that narrative on wax pops up out of nowhere, unprompted, on a random Thursday, and tells the world she stands on every single word, what exactly did she think was going to happen? Because this wasn't Cardi hunting for a fight. This was Bia walking up to a sleeping bear, poking it with a stick, and then acting shocked at the claws. And I know some of y'all are already typing, but it's just her opinion. Okay, it's just her opinion the same way a match is just a little stick. Context matters, baby. So about an hour later, y'all, not a day, not a week, an hour, Cardi B jumped onto an X Spaces and started addressing the situation directly. And this is where things stopped being rap beef and started being something else entirely. Because she didn't come with bars. She came with a whole courtroom testimony, a family photo album, and what sounds like a fully loaded diss record already sitting on ice. And I'm going to walk y'all through every single layer of it, because there is a lot. There are layers to this that the blogs flattened into one headline, and the headline does not do the chaos justice. So settle in, get your snack. Because first we have to talk about the accusation that sits at the center of this entire feud, the one she took the most personally, and honestly, the one that explains why she came out swinging the way she did. One of the biggest claims from that whole 2024 situation was the allegation that Cardi B had been unfaithful to Offset during their marriage. That was the bullet Bia loaded into that diss track, and that's the bullet she just told the world she still stands on. And she addressed it head on. She strongly, and I mean strongly, denied that allegation. She said she never flirted with another man, never kissed another man, never exchanged DMs with another man throughout her entire 7-year marriage to Offset. 7 years, y'all. And then she did something that told me exactly how seriously she wanted people to take that denial. She invoked her children while saying it. Now, you can think whatever you want about her, but people do not bring their kids into a denial for fun. That's somebody telling you, this isn't entertainment to me. This is my name. This is my family. And you are lying on both. And honestly, I believe the energy, if nothing else. Because think about it logically for 1 second. If there was a man, where is he? It's 2026. Everybody's got a phone. Everybody's got a screenshot. Everybody's cousin got a screen recording. She literally said it herself in so many words. Name one man. Drop the proof. What are you waiting on? And y'all, it's been years. The proof has had ample time to put on its shoes and walk to the internet. It has not arrived. At some point you have to look at the accusation and ask whether it was ever a fact or whether it was always just content. Because there's a difference, and that difference is about to matter a whole lot in a minute. Because here's where she flipped the entire script, and this is the part that made everybody put their phone down and pick it back up. After denying the cheating allegation, she turned the whole accusation around like a steering wheel. She alleged that Offset had actually been involved with someone close to Bia, and that she knew about it. Read that again. The woman who built a diss track on the claim that she was unfaithful is now being accused, by Cardi B, of sitting on knowledge about Offset's own behavior with somebody in Bia's orbit. And then she took it a step further and accused Bia of using a so-called finsta, a fake Instagram account, to spread rumors around Offset's circle. A fake page, y'all. Allegedly. Now, let me be responsible for 1 second, because I always am, even when the tea is hot. Those are her allegations. Bia has not confirmed that version of events, and we're going to get to her response in a minute, because she did respond, at least a part of it. But baby, the internet heard one sentence out of that spaces and immediately started building an entire courtroom. The timelines turned into a jury. The group chats turned into deliberation rooms. Everybody was a lawyer, everybody was a judge, everybody had an exhibit A. And that's the thing about this era of beef. The accusation doesn't even have to land. It just has to be loud enough to trend. And then she went even further. Because at that point, this stopped being a response and started being a demolition. She started taking shots at her background, at her career numbers. And yes, she got personal, very personal. And look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend every single thing said in that spaces was classy, because it was not. When she said she doesn't want to look like her, sound like her, rap like her, dress like her, and then threw in that everybody talks about how her breath stinks, I had to pause the audio. I literally had to pause it. Because that's not a diss anymore. That's a whole humiliation ritual. That is the kind of line that follows a person. Rappers have lost entire careers off less memorable insults than that. And the internet proved it instantly, because within hours, the jokes were writing themselves, and her mentions looked like a war zone. But if you actually listen to the full audio, and I did, all of it, so you don't have to, the most revealing part wasn't the insults. It was the history. Because according to Cardi B, this feud did not start with a diss track. It started with a friendship request. She said, and I'm paraphrasing the energy here, that Bia wanted to be friends with her so bad. Cardi said she has recordings, because she was actually talking to this girl. She described herself as somebody who doesn't really like to talk to people a lot. And honestly, anybody who follows Cardi B knows that's true. She keeps her circle tight. And she painted this picture of Bia constantly sending people to deliver little messages. Oh, I hope Cardi don't have a problem with me. Tell Cardi, I don't have no issue with her. Over and over and over. And the detail that really made me sit back was the timing of it all. According to Cardi B, this was happening while she was pregnant. Pregnant, y'all. She's watching Netflix. She's chilling. She's in her 3rd trimester era of life, and her phone is ringing with, hey, yo, did you hear what they're saying? They said this, and that. And she described being genuinely panicked and sidetracked, sitting there like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So she starts calling everybody. Who said this? Where did this come from? What's all this? And when she finally traces the rumor back to the source, where does it come from? Come to find out, it traced back through Big Tigger of all people. A whole game of telephone that had a pregnant woman panicking in her own home over absolutely nothing she could verify. And you can hear it in her voice on that spaces. That wasn't performance anger. That was years of this stuff finally boiling over. And I need y'all to understand something about the psychology of that. Because when she says, y'all do not understand how much these people have put me through, and why is it? Because of jealousy, whether you think she's right or wrong. That is the emotional engine of this entire explosion. Cardi wasn't responding to one comment from one Thursday. She was responding to what she describes as years of subliminals, years of fake pages, years of people sending messages through mutual friends, years of being talked about in group chats. That's why the response was so disproportionate to the trigger. The comment was the match, but the gas had been poured for years. Now, was every part of the response fair? That's a different conversation, and we're going to have it, so keep it locked. But first, we have to talk about the other man in this story, because Offset's name is sitting in the middle of this like an unexploded bomb, and what Cardi B said about him, and didn't say about him, might be the most telling part of this whole thing. So let's talk about Offset for a minute, because the way Offset moved through this story is fascinating to me. In the middle of that spaces, she actually paused the chaos to clarify something that I think a lot of people missed. She said, and again, I'm giving you the energy, not a word for word. I'm not even beefing with my ex-husband, to be honest with you. She said she wants him to finalize the divorce and send her that 50 ball for these kids' birthday parties. She said she just doesn't talk to him right now, but they aren't at war. Now, y'all, think about how remarkable that is. She is in the middle of the most unhinged, scorched earth rant of the year, flames on everything, and she still took a breath to make sure the record showed that her issue is not with Offset. That was deliberate. That was her drawing a circle around the actual enemy list, and Offset was not inside it. But, and this is a big but, she also said something that connects Offset to this story in a way nobody can ignore. She suggested that Offset knows exactly what's up with a certain person he's been involved with who's friends with that girl, meaning Bia. And then she went straight at the group chat. She said, essentially, y'all were plotting on me in the group chat. Now, I don't know who all was in this alleged group chat. I don't know if it was Bia, friends of hers, industry people, whoever. But the image she was painting was coordinated. Not one girl with an opinion. A group of people, allegedly, sitting in a chat, moving fake pages around, circulating stories through Offset's circle, and building a narrative about her behind her back. And listen, I always tell y'all to look at who benefits. Who benefits from a rumor that Cardi B cheated on Offset? Not Offset. He's divorced from the situation, he's moving on, and by Cardi's own words, they aren't even beefing. Who benefits is whoever wants her name attached to a scandal instead of attached to her success. And that's why she kept coming back to one word all night. Jealousy. She said it plainly. Always talking, always in my business, and why? Because of jealousy. You can agree or disagree with the diagnosis, but that's clearly how she has filed this entire feud in her own mind. Not as a rap rivalry, as resentment dressed up as a rap rivalry. And then we got to the moment. The moment. Because after all the history, all the accusations, all the breath jokes and career shots, Cardi B looked dead into the microphone. Metaphorically, it was a spaces, but spiritually, she was looking directly into a camera, and Cardi B compared herself to Churchill. Yes, Winston Churchill. Cardi said, when it comes to this, I'm Churchill, ready to blow. And then she said the words that every blog, every fan page, every group chat ran with. That nuke will be dropped. For real. Now I need everybody to understand what she was actually saying there, because some people heard, I'm Churchill, and got lost in the joke of it. The point wasn't the history reference. The point was the metaphor that came with it. Churchill, in her framing, is the one who doesn't start the war but finishes it. And the nuke, according to everything she said that night, is a song. A whole diss record. Already recorded. Already sitting in the vault. Not a song she's thinking about writing. Not a verse she's about to book studio time for. A finished product that, by her own telling, has been sitting there waiting for exactly this kind of moment. And baby, that changed the entire temperature of this beef. Because there's a huge difference between somebody saying, I could respond, and somebody saying, I already have the song. The first one is defense. The second one is premeditation. If what she said is accurate, then everything she's done since 2024, every subliminal, every double down comment, every, I stand on what I said, has been happening while a response was already sitting on ice. That's not a beef. That's a trapdoor. And she might have just walked over it. But hold on. Because while she was threatening nuclear warfare, the internet was doing what the internet does, making everything worse. Because somewhere in the chaos of that spaces, a whole new rumor got born that wasn't even what she said, and it spread so fast that Bia had to come out and address it herself, in all caps. And what she said, and what she pointedly did not say, tells you a lot about where this is going next. So let's get into Bia's side of this, because baby, the denial raised more questions than it answered. So here's what happened on her side. While the spaces was still echoing across the timeline, people started running with a version of the story that went further than what she actually alleged. Suddenly, the claim floating around was that Bia herself was the one who had been involved with Offset. Not someone close to Bia. Bia herself. And y'all, that's the internet's favorite game, telephone with a megaphone. The actual allegation was that Offset had been involved with someone close to Bia, and that she knew about it. The internet heard that, chewed it up, and spat out Bia was with Offset. Those are two different sentences with two very different levels of mess. But nuance has never paid the algorithm's bills. And to Bia's credit, and I do give credit where it's due, even to people currently getting dog-walked through the timeline, she did not let that specific rumor breathe. She responded to a fan account in all caps, and the message was basically, never would I ever. All caps, y'all. She wanted that denial to be seen from space. So right now, officially, we have her on record denying that she personally was ever involved with Offset. Clean, direct, no ambiguity on that one point. But, and y'all knew there was a but, notice what she denied, and notice what Bia did not deny. She denied being involved with Offset herself. What she did not address, at least not directly, was the finsta allegation. She did not address the fake Instagram page claim. She did not address the group chat plotting claim. She did not address Cardi B's allegation that someone close to her was involved with Offset and that she knew about it. She swatted the one rumor that was the most damaging to her personally and left the rest of the courtroom exhibits sitting right there on the table. Now, does that mean the rest is true? No. Silence is not a confession, and I'm not going to sit here and convict anybody off what they didn't say. But in the court of public opinion, which is the only court that matters in a rap beef, unanswered questions get answered by the audience. And the audience always chooses the messiest possible answer. Meanwhile, the culture at large was having an absolute field day, and this is where I have to be honest about how the internet has already been treating Bia, because it matters for what happens next. Y'all remember how the timeline was when that 2024 diss dropped. The diary of Bia, jokes were everywhere. Every other post was somebody saying, name 5 Bia songs right now. And the devastating part is that to this day, people still can't do it. That's not me being mean. That's literally the meme. The meme is that the challenge cannot be completed. And when that's the meme attached to your name, walking into a second round with Cardi B is not a beef. It's a public execution with extra steps. And she knows it. Because if you listen to how she framed the career shots, she wasn't just being mean for sport. She was building a case that Bia's entire approach to her has been strategy, not sincerity. The same sample argument is a perfect example. Bia's position in this feud has essentially been that she wanted to be like her, and one of the receipts people point to is that they used the same sample. And she dismantled that in about 10 seconds. The response was basically, by that logic, do I want to be like Coi Leray too? Because her and Coi Leray have the same sample. Everybody in rap uses the same samples, baby. That's how sampling works. A shared sample is not a shared identity. And once you pull that thread, the whole she wants to be me narrative starts looking real flimsy, real fast. Then there was the gang claim. She had previously pushed this story that Cardi B had to get, let's say, initiated into her gang, and Cardi B shot that down with the kind of specificity that tells you she's been waiting to correct it. She said, girl, when I was 16, I didn't do none of that. And then she turned it around with a point that honestly, I've seen very few people answer. You're talking all this gangster talk, but were you a gangster to begin with? Because that's the thing about a lot of these narratives. They only work if nobody checks the foundation. And she spent that entire spaces checking foundations. Who sent who? Who called who? Who knew what? Where the rumors actually started. It was less of a rant and more of an audit. And here's the detail I keep coming back to, the one that I think is the actual thesis of this whole situation. Through everything, the 2024 diss, the doubled down comments, the subliminals, all of it, Bia has never actually said what Cardi B did to her. Not once. Think about that. 2 years of smoke, and the question, what did Cardi B do to you? Still doesn't have an answer. If somebody wronged you badly enough to justify a diss track and a years-long feud, naming the offense should be the easiest part. And yet every time the question comes up, what we get is vibes, samples, and rumors about Offset. And she said as much herself. The energy was, this girl cannot tell you what I did to her, because there is nothing to tell. Now, I'm not here to tell y'all that she is an angel, because she would be the first person to tell you she is not an angel. She is messy when she's provoked. She goes low when she decides to go, and some of what was said on that spaces was below the belt, period. But there's a difference between being messy and being wrong. And on the specific question of who started this and why, the receipts are not looking great for Bia right now. Which brings us to the question everybody's actually here for, the NUKE. Is it real? What's on it? And if Cardi B actually drops it, what happens to Bia's career? Let's talk about it. And since we're doing a full audit, let's talk about the moment in that spaces that got the least coverage and deserved the most, the recordings. Cardi B said she has recordings. Cardi said she was actually talking to Bia during that whole era, that there are receipts of the friendship campaign, the message passing, that tell Cardi, I don't have a problem with her parade. Now think about what that means strategically. Because if she has audio of Bia trying to build a friendship, and then Bia turned around and built a diss track on the premise that she was some kind of enemy all along, that is not just a contradiction. That is a narrative kill shot. That is the difference between 2 women who fell out, and 1 woman who manufactured a feud because the friendship application got declined. And in a genre where authenticity is the whole currency, being exposed as the person who wanted in and then lied about why they were mad is career damage no feature can fix. I also want to address the fans real quick, because I watched the reactions roll in live, and there were really 3 camps. Camp 1 was Team Cardi all the way. These are the folks saying she's been the target of this exact playbook for years, and she's finally swinging back with both hands. Camp 2 was that they're both too grown for this crowd. And look, I hear you. There is always dignity in silence. And then Camp 3, and this camp was louder than people want to admit, was the camp that came strictly for the entertainment, the ones who do not care who is right, they just want to hear what else is in that vault. And here's the uncomfortable truth about Camp 3. That camp is the algorithm. Camp 3 is why this story outtrended actual news. Outrage plus anticipation is the most addictive cocktail on the internet, and this situation has both on tap. And one more thing about the "she's in her 30s, her boyfriend just turned 21" line that she threw in there, because y'all know I keep it fair. Was it necessary? No. Was it effective? Devastatingly. And that's the uncomfortable calculus of a Cardi B rant. She does not aim for the argument. She aims for the memory. Every single line was engineered to be repeated, clipped, captioned, and stitched, and within 24 hours, that's exactly what happened. You can call it cruel. You cannot call it sloppy. There is a reason she survived a decade of feuds, and it is not luck. She understands, better than almost anyone in her genre, that in the attention economy, the person who writes the most repeatable sentence wins the week. And baby, she wrote about 5 of them in one night. Now, as for where this goes legally, because yes, we have to at least acknowledge the legal layer. Accusations like fake pages and coordinated rumor campaigns are the kind of thing that lawyers clock even when the culture just laughs. I'm not saying anybody's getting sued tomorrow, but I am saying that when allegations start involving identifiable people, business reputations, and claims someone could try to prove or disprove, the fun and games window starts closing. And that might be the real reason the NUKE stays in the vault. Because the moment those allegations go from a Spaces rant to a commercially released record, they stop being gossip and start being exhibits. Something to think about while y'all are down there demanding the drop. Because this is the part I've been turning over in my head all week, and I want to walk y'all through the strategy of it, not just the mess of it. If Cardi B really has a finished diss record sitting in the vault, then the smartest thing she could do, and she has been in this game long enough to know it, is exactly what she's doing right now. Talk about it. Threaten it. Describe it. Compare it to a nuclear weapon. And then not drop it. At least not yet. Why? Because the threat of the song is doing more damage than the song might ever do. Right now, every move she makes happens under a cloud. If she drops music, the first question in the comments won't be about the music. It'll be, is this a response to Cardi B? If she does an interview, the interviewer is going to ask about the NUKE. If she posts a picture, somebody's in the comments asking if she's ready. She has essentially installed a permanent shadow over Bia's entire rollout calendar without spending a single dollar on promotion. That is not just beefing. That is psychological warfare with a release strategy attached. And let's be real about the stakes for a second, because they're not symmetrical. If this beef fizzles out tomorrow, she goes back to being Cardi B. The hits, the fashion, the tours, the cultural moments. Her career does not rise or fall on this feud. But for Bia, this feud is functionally her biggest platform right now. And I don't say that to be cruel. I say it because the numbers and the discourse say it. When the general public engages with Bia's name, it is overwhelmingly in the context of Cardi B. That means every escalation helps her engagement numbers while trapping her in a cycle where her loudest moments are always about somebody else. That's a lose-lose wearing a win-win costume. So what would actually be on this alleged record? Let's speculate responsibly. If we go off what she laid out on the Spaces, the raw material is right there in plain sight. The friendship requests that turned into a diss track angle. The finsta allegations. The group chat. The somebody close to you offset claim. The "you can't name what I did to you" challenge. And the career arithmetic. Because she made sure to mention career numbers. And if there's one thing she loves, it's a scoreboard. A Cardi B diss record built on those bones would not be a "you're ugly" record. It would be a receipt record. And receipt records are the most dangerous kind. Because insults fade, but documentation trends forever. Now, from Bia's side of the chessboard, what's the play? Because she has options, but none of them are comfortable. Option 1. Ignore it completely. Starve it. Let the NUKE sit in the vault until it expires. The problem with that is she already showed us she can't resist responding. The whole reason we're here is that she couldn't scroll past one comment on a random Thursday. Option 2. Respond with another diss. And baby, that is exactly what the trap is built for. The second she drops anything aimed at Cardi, she has justified the release of whatever is sitting in that vault, and she will be walking into a response that's been marinating for years while hers was cooked in a weekend. Option 3. De-escalate publicly. Apologize, clarify, move on. But after, I stand on what I said. A walkback reads as surrender, and surrender in rap beef gets remembered longer than the beef itself. And that's why, personally, I think the most interesting part of this entire story was never the insults. The breath jokes are funny for a week. The career shots sting for a month. But the unreleased song changes the physics of the whole situation because it converts a beef into a hostage negotiation. As long as that record exists, or as long as everyone believes it exists, Bia is not fighting her in the present. She is fighting a version of the future where her opponent has already won and just hasn't pressed upload yet. Let me also say this, because the She's Obsessed crowd is already warming up in the comments. Is there a world where Cardi B should just let this go? Sure, there's always that world. She is the bigger artist by every metric, and there's an argument that every time she responds, she donates her platform to the feud. I understand that argument. I've made that argument about other situations on this very channel. But I also understand the other side, and the other side is this. At some point, a person gets tired. 7-year marriage rumors, fake pages, group chats, a diss track, and then a fresh, I stand on it, out of absolutely nowhere. If even half of what she described is true, then what we're watching is an obsession. It's a woman who finally got tired of being the bigger person and decided to be the louder person instead. And in this industry, louder usually wins. Which brings me to the part of the story nobody's really talking about, and that's Doja Cat's quiet little role in all of this. Because think about how this reignited. It didn't start with the two of them at all. It started with Doja Cat playing a song on a stream and refusing to care about old drama. Doja Cat chose peace so casually that it accidentally triggered a war between two other people. And there's a lesson in that about how this new era of female rap works. The alliances shift weekly. Yesterday's diss target is today's apology. And the only constant is that Cardi B's name remains the most valuable property in any of these conversations. Everybody's either coming for it, defending it, or apologizing for ever mentioning it. That, right there, is what winning looks like, whether you like the player or not. So let's bring this home, because y'all know I don't leave without giving you the full picture. Here's where everything stands as of right now. Bia is on record saying she stands on everything she said in that 2024 diss, and she is also on record, in all caps, denying that she was ever personally involved with Offset. Cardi B is on record denying the cheating allegation in the strongest terms possible. No flirting, no kissing, no DMs, 7 years, and she put her children on that denial. Cardi B is also on record alleging the finsta, the group chat, and the Offset situation involving someone in Bia's circle, all of which, to be fair and accurate, remain allegations that she has not confirmed. And hanging over all of it is the NUKE, a diss record that she says is finished, loaded, and waiting on a decision, not a studio session. And I told y'all at the top of this video that the timing was the story, so let me close that loop. This did not restart because she went looking for smoke. It restarted because Bia, while apologizing to one woman she had dissed, took a detour to reaffirm a diss against another. That is the part one cannot make sense of, no matter how many times I replay it. If you're on an apology tour, finish the tour. You cannot hand out peace treaties with one hand and reload with the other, and then act surprised when the room reacts. And if Cardi's version of the history is even close to accurate, the years of messages, the fake pages, the group chat, the wanting to be friends era that curdled into a diss track the moment the friendship didn't materialize, then this was never really about music at all. It was about access. And when the access got denied, the narrative got invented. Now, I'll tell y'all my honest read, and then I want yours, because this one is genuinely dividing people. My read is this: the NUKE is real. Maybe not a whole song. Maybe it's a verse. Maybe it's a hook. Maybe it's a fully mixed record with a video treatment. I don't know. But something is sitting somewhere, because artists do not usually compare an imaginary song to a nuclear weapon on a public platform. The risk of the bluff getting called is too high. And if it drops, I don't think it matters how good it is lyrically. The court of public opinion has already been in session for a week. The memes have already been loading. She would be responding to a record the culture has already decided to celebrate. And that's the hardest fight in entertainment. You can't out-rap a narrative. But here's the other possibility, and y'all know I always keep both doors open. There's a version of this where the NUKE never drops at all, where the threat was the weapon, where she gets the satisfaction of watching the whole internet do the demolition for free, and she spends the next year dodging a song that doesn't exist. And honestly, that might be the colder move. Churchill didn't drop bombs every day. He just made sure everybody knew he could. So now it's your turn, besties, and I mean it. Get in the comments, because this one has layers. 1. Do you believe the vault is real, or do you think the threat is the whole strategy? 2. If the record drops, is Bia ready for it? And be honest, has anything in this saga suggested she is? And 3. This is the one I really want answered. At what point does standing on a 2-year-old diss stop being conviction and start being self-sabotage? Because from where I'm sitting, she didn't get dragged this week. Bia volunteered, and she just happened to be the one holding the clipboard. And before y'all go, because I see some of y'all reaching for the exit. Let me tell you why you need to be subscribed for the next one. Because this story has a second shoe, and it hasn't dropped yet. Offset has been mentioned in this feud more times than some of these girls' own singles, and Offset has said absolutely nothing. No post, no comment, no y'all leave me out of it. Silence. And in my experience, when the quietest person in the story is the one with the most to say, that silence has an expiration date. The moment Offset speaks, and he will, they always do, this whole thing reshuffles again, and y'all know I'm going to be right here with the breakdown before the blogs even finish their headlines. So hit that subscribe, tap the bell, like the video if you learned something, and drop your verdict below. Were you team, drop the nuke, or team, let it sit and suffer? And if you've made it this far, do me one favor, name 5 Bia songs in the comments. Just 5. I'll wait. I'll talk to y'all later, besties. Bye.